All right, cadets, settle down. All right, take your seats. So in front of you, you're going to see a little thing called like and subscribe, and you're going to press these buttons, and you're going to make sure all notifications are turned on. Why? Well, because it's very simple. You're going to fail my class if you don't, because I'll make you fail. So go ahead and do that right now before we get into it. Otherwise, today's instruction will be on the base statistics of all ships. We're going to get this out of the way because it's one of the first lessons you're going to need to learn because it's going to be building. This is the building block that is going to build everything else we're going to be talking about later. So without further ado, we're going to get into the base statistics and everything else about these designs. Okay, so we're going to go from left to right, starting with these stats. Maximum speed. Maximum speed is basically affecting how fast your ship goes, inside of combat, outside of combat, and just in general. Having a higher speed is always beneficial because it adds to your evasion chance. Your evasion chance is the speed and the surface visibility. And basically, the higher the speed is and the lower the surface visibility is, the harder you are to hit. So having a maximum speed is always very efficient. To have it above 30 is very, very good. A maximum range of this ship. What this is talking about is how far this specific ship can go from a naval base. Okay? So from a naval base, it is talking about this, right? And if we take the carrier out, we're going to see that it has a range. And it's going to show you the range it can go from a naval base, which is basically literally everywhere in the world besides a few of these places. Okay? And a way you can check this is if you hover over the name right here, it's going to say the maximum range of the fleet and how fast it can go. The ships will only go as fast as the slowest ship in a fleet, okay? So if we all combine them again, we're going to see that the maximum speed of this fleet is 19.9 because of the subs. The subs are slowing this fleet down, okay? And if we look at the shortest ranges, we're going to see again that we're being held back. That's why our range, so the max range of everything, of your ships, is what this ship is, but it is what the fleet is in total. So it's averaging them all out for the range, okay? And the speed is just taking the slowest one possible. So this is why if you need to get a good range on ships, you drop destroyers and subs out of your fleet, okay? It just depends on how far away you are from a naval base. But just remember that it is the shortest range and it is combined so you can have a lot of ships with max range and a few ones that don't have a lot of good range, and it will take the average. Okay, next we're going to look at organization. Basically, organization is used to keep the ship in the battle. The lower the organization gets, the your penalty for hitting ships will get greater. And I'll show you on screen right now. It gets greater the lower your organization is. Okay? And if your fleet is here, they're going to lose organization when they go through tiles. Okay? So just remember that. So having a high organization is good. HP. HP is basically how much damage your ship can take before it goes down. Okay? It's very simple. Reliability is not what you think it is. Reliability on ships is, there it is, in accidents, and it also affects how much a critical hit chance will happen to you. The lower the reliability, the higher the chance that you're going to get a critical hit. A critical hit can be a rudder jamming, a magazine fire, and like knocking out your radar and such, okay? There's not a lot you can do to affect this stat besides making it go down. And what do I mean by that is pretty much everything that makes a ship good is going to lower the reliability. So advanced fire control system is going to make it lose 10 reliability, but buff a lot of other stats, okay? So just keep in mind that it does in fact do something, and it will lower your chance that, or it will increase the chance that you are going to receive a critical hit. Supply use. Supply use. Basically, wherever the ship is, how much supply it uses. You can check this. If you go here, you can see that this fleet, all these units here are using 8.32 supply. Now, why should you pay attention to this number? No, not really. I don't ever pay attention to this number. It's worthless. And this is how many men are on the ship. So that's how many men will die if your ship goes down. Basically, there are some stats that affect it, and some of those that are shark-infested waters. So, you know, your casualty rate on your ship will go down. Or go up if you sink there, but I never pay attention to that number, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, on to the combat stats. Okay, so we're going to get into some really in-depth stats here. This is like the most critical part to understand. So we're going to go through it very slowly, and we're going to go over everything from light attack to armor in one go. Now, the reason we're doing it in one go with these is because they are all combined stats, essentially. So we're going to go from the top. Light attack. Light attack is basically your ships shooting at targets that are in the screening area that they can hit. Light attack and light piercing, right, are the attacks that are most likely to hit, and they will engage everything that is a light target, meaning the screening vessels. Once the screening vessels are down, they will then engage the back line, which will be the capital ships. But they will first target the light screens in front of them. So again, if your light piercing can't pierce their armor, it's a scaling thing, so it depends how much lower your piercing is and how much higher their armor is. Depends on how much damage reduction you can get. Okay? It can go up to minus 90% on light attack if they have enough armor to stop you, okay, on your light attacks. Heavy attack is the same thing. Heavy attack is a lot lower chance to hit, but they mainly target capitals. So in a battle, your heavy attacks are going to be directed at the enemy capital ships. The light attacks are going to be directed at their screens, okay? So once the heavy attack has killed all the enemy capital ships, it will then focus its attacks on the enemy screens, but only then. After the capitals and the carriers are down, it will then focus on screens. The opposite is happening with light. Light will take care of the screens, then the capitals, then the carriers. And this is your heavy piercing. Again, depending on how high their armor is and what your piercing value is, if their armor is high enough, they can have a minus 90 damage against your piercing. But again, you don't need to fully pierce it. It's a sliding scale. It's not an if or and. It's a sliding scale. So it can be minus 1% damage all the way to minus 90% damage. Okay? Torpedo attack is the same thing. These have the worst chance to hit something, but when they hit, they do a massive amount of damage. Okay? Depth charges are also a chance to hit. Again, they only really affect submarines. So again, there's not much you can do to influence this. They attack subs and nothing else. Torpedo attacks will fire at the enemy ships and hope they hit, is the general gist. And they have to get through the screening efficiency. So they have to fire at enemy capitals through the screening efficiency. If their screening efficiency is low, there's a chance that torpedoes can go through. However, it is very small. And the armor here, what this is referring to, is how much armor the ship has. The higher the armor is how much more damage reduction it could possibly take off of the enemy's piercing for both their light and heavy. It just depends on how tough your armor is, okay? This armor does not apply if you are getting air attacked. It does not apply if you're getting air attacked. This is why most carriers do not have armor, because it is worthless, because it does not affect any air attack coming in at you. It only affects light and heavy, not air. So now we're going to go on to AA. Okay, so the AA value. This is very complicated. I'm going to break it down, and we're going to have to do it from the wiki because it is very complicated, but I'm going to go very slow here. AA on this ship is 1.6. Okay? Basically what this means is, I'm just going to start from the top. Every 8 hours, the planes are going to run a sortie at a target, okay? And depending on the statistics is how many planes are going to join in. So we're just going to say 20. The planes are going to target a ship, okay? It's going to be which one has a base weight of HP times a number. The carriers are going to get hit more often, okay? Because it's times 200 times their base weight, okay? They're going to be targeted. Carriers are going to be targeted in the air raid. So with them targeted, they're going to shoot at the attacking aircraft. So let's say there's 20 aircraft coming in on this carrier. They see the carrier, they're going to say, cool, I'm going to go bomb the carrier. The carrier then sees the enemy aircraft. They are going to shoot at the enemy aircraft, okay? During this phase, they get a chance to shoot them down, depending on the statistics right in front of you, okay? Depending on how many they shoot down, which can range wildly, okay, is how much they shoot down. Now the planes are going to attack them. The planes then attack, okay? When they attack, they are going to do damage, okay? If they hit. And when they hit, the ship's AA, which is this AA right here, reduces the damage, okay? And then all ships that are fighting on the same side, up to 20% of whatever it is, the AA, is again going to reduce the damage, okay? And these are critical hits that pierce armor, okay? Armor means nothing to a plane when they are doing this damage, okay? So this is why the AA matters, because it directly affects how many planes this single ship is going to shoot down when it is targeted. It's not fleet AA, it is how much AA this particular ship has at shooting an enemy plane down. Fleet AA determines how much damage reduction on top of this AA is going to reduce the damage that you're taking from an aircraft. Okay? So that's basically AA in a nutshell. Okay, so deck size. Basically, this is the limit of how many planes you can fit on your carrier without starting to get a penalty. Okay? So we're going to go with a wiki example. If the deck size is 45 planes and you add a plane over, so 46, you're going to receive a minus 4.4% to mission efficiency. Okay? Now, you don't overstack your carriers pretty much ever, even with base strike. However, there is an exception there that we'll get to when we talk into the doctrine there, okay? But generally, you're going to suffer a bad penalty if you go over your deck size. So stick to the deck size. That's basically what deck size is for. Don't go over it, just stick with the deck size. Now we'll go to miscellaneous stats. Okay, we're going to go over basically the miscellaneous stats right here. And now these are also very important to understand. So fuel usage, you really don't have an influence on this. There are some mods that let you influence this. There's not playing with mods, so it's irrelevant for our purposes here. You're just going to burn fuel when you're using a Navy. Now, surface visibility, okay? What this is talking about is your evasion chance. And again on screen, it's the speed and the surface visibility. These combined, if you have a lower surface visibility and a higher speed, you increase your HP by 1.7 is what the wiki says. But basically, you're lowering your chance to hit by everything. This is especially helpful on carriers because they don't have, their armor is irrelevant. They need the speed to dodge airplane attacks that are coming in at them. So this stat is very important. Do not ignore it. Try to get it as low as possible. Okay, surface detection. Ability to detect surface contacts, okay? One last thing with surface visibility, it does all affect surface detection. The lower this is, the longer it takes for the surface detection to see you, okay? So this stat is very important. Do not ignore it. Try to get it as low as possible. Surface detection is basically how long it takes for you to find an enemy vessel, okay? So we can see here it is 26 on this carrier, okay? So if the carrier was on patrol, it has that high of a value that it can use to find enemy ships. Okay? Now, this light cruiser right here has a surface detection of 22. Okay? Now, if you start increasing it, right, and we don't even have the best planes, but this is how you start making scouting cruisers. You get this value up very high, and then you put them on reconnaissance, and they'll start going out to find ships. Okay? Now, if we look at sub visibility, this is how visible your sub is. The lower this is, the harder it is to detect, okay? And it also increases its evasion chance. But it's not a sub, so it doesn't really matter. Try to get it as low as possible. Sub detection. How much can this ship on patrol find an enemy sub, okay? The higher this value is, the higher chance you have at finding an enemy sub. Mind laying is, again, how much you can mine lay and how much you can mine sweep. So if we just take a regular destroyer, for example, we can see that mine laying will go up by 1 or mine sweeping will go up by 1, right? And usually it's just whatever you need. So you can do 2 and 2 or whatever slots you have, okay? Completely up to you, but basically that's how efficient they are at doing that. Okay, on to conclusion. All right, cadets. So in conclusion, we're going to wrap these up. Basically, what you need to remember, some of your most important stats are maximum speed and your surface visibility. The lower your surface visibility and the higher your speed increases your evasion chance, which means you're less likely to get hit. Another thing to remember is the AA. It is not the ship's AA is what determines how many planes actually go down, and the fleet AA is what determines how much damage reduction along with your AA. So it is a very important stat to keep in mind. Other than that, cadets, keep up your studies, and you are dismissed for today, and I will see you tomorrow.